Hey everyone, this is Bridget, and this is my first kind of interview question with one of my best Starseed friends, Gabe Salomon, and it's so fun for me to
Hi.
connect you with him. Hey Gabe, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's, of course, a pleasure and an honor to be doing this.
Of course. Yeah, our little community, our galactified community, with like Arcturus Raw and like a bunch of other people, we've all started like converging on his last trip to Sedona. So I just thought it was fitting to connect all of us together, who are in this community, so that you not only see just like me or the people putting out these videos on YouTube, which Gabe is doing now too, but you really see everyone, because there's so many of us having these different experiences and how we integrate them. So I'm excited to have him on to talk about that. And to start, we lived together for at least like 6-8 months. Is that right, Gabe?
Yep. Yeah, I think it was for about 8 months.
Nice. Yeah, he lived here in Sedona in the Harmonious Earth Community House. And every day when he woke up, he would just like rush out of the bedroom, like in a complete daze. And he would just be like, oh my gosh, I just had so many experiences. And so as far as experiencer and remembering contact as well as lucid dreaming, he is like the go-to guy. And we had a lot of converging connections with different ETs, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just wanted to start out, Gabe, with asking you about that, like asking you about being a starseed and connecting with all of your like dream experiences and memories and like how that works for you.
Being a starseed and particularly being here for first contact, I could see now in my life that everything that has led up to this point has been preparation for obviously this galactic remembrance and this galactic convergence and reconnection. And it's important for everyone, I feel, that is watching this video to allow themselves to recall the fact that if you are drawn to this, and probably a lot of you already know this because you're watching Bridget's videos, those that would be drawn to this are part of a galactic federation. You are part of a galactic association of beings that go from world to world during these processes of great transformation, and you assist in these ascension processes. Generally, a lot of the beings that take on this sort of courageous act are beings from the sixth density level vibration, and they lower their vibration into what we know to be third density, and of course we're transitioning into fourth density. And we do this for the process of uplifting the total vibration of this planet and the rest of the universe. So it's a very amazing and honorable thing as to actually place a portion of their consciousness into a much denser vibration without the confirmation, or without the what's the word that I'm looking for, the full guarantee that you will remember actually who you are. And so for me, it's like everything in my life has just been getting me to remember that. And I'm someone that has had contact experiences since I was very young, and I remember quite a lot of them. I mean, this is something that happens to me on almost a daily basis, of waking up on board ship, communicating with extraterrestrials, conveying messages from extraterrestrial civilizations to Earth beings that would be also involved in this process. The importance of remembering that we are in fact here for a mission that stretches far beyond the temporal physical experience, is in fact, we do have these connections to ships and to extraterrestrials that are always communicating with us and that are assisting us in these other parallel incarnations that we have.
We're having so many of these experiences, and we do have these like deep lineages that go back. And so right now I kind of want to talk about like if people are having these experiences, like how to reconcile them with the daily like physical third density living, as well as like then just like dreaming and going to these far off places. Like how do you reconcile the two? And then we'll go into kind of if people aren't having the experiences, how they can open to them. But How do you
Mhm.
do that?
No, it's a great question, and it's funny because I think in the spiritual community, or particularly in the ET kind of community, we're oscillating between two different states of consciousness. We're either wanting contact, we're craving contact, we want to know how to get more contact, or we're having contact and we have no idea how to ground that into the physical dimension. So we just kind of go off into space and we don't have any way of contextualizing that here as being human. And so the way that I remedy this, which is something that I tell a lot of people who are contact experiencers and starseeds and whatever, I say that contact with extraterrestrials is contact with yourself. And contact with yourself, which is actually what we truly want, remedies these two sides of the spectrum.
Mm.
It remedies our dissolving of the craving to want to have a spiritual experience, because the funny thing is that the higher that you go in levels of consciousness, you start to realize that the most miraculous spiritual experience there is actually a state of neutrality. It's not really a state of experience anymore of any particular kind, you know. And then when you make contact with yourself, which is landing within your own heart, which is having compassion towards yourself and moving forward with the things that you know that you're here to do on a soul level, that then also remedies the perspective of not being able to anchor in these higher dimensional experiences and contacts into the physical. My entire life has become the declaration of making contact with myself and knowing that I am the extraterrestrial that I'm waiting for, that Earth is the mothership. And I'm telling you from experience, for those that are listening to this, at a certain point of integration, it's like contact becomes like not a big deal. It's like you have contact, I have contact, I still wake up, I go downstairs and I make my smoothie in the morning. Like, it's not a big deal, you know, it just kind of becomes a part of your life. So, and the reason why it's important, I find, to highlight that is so that it starts to help dissipate that endless craving. Because when you're craving contact, you're craving an experience that might not be even relevant for you in your soul's journey to have. And that's really what this comes down to. If you're not experiencing contact, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's just because it's not relevant for an individual at this time to be integrated or inundated with those kinds of experiences.
I was just gonna ask you about that. It's like, well, what if I'm not having contact? Does that mean something bad?
No. As a matter of fact, there's many people that do have contact, and their higher self, because it's all commissioned by our higher self, what we can experience and what we can remember, and what's kind of kept on the back burner, so to speak. If our higher self feels that it's relevant for us to remember, then the higher self will give us that experience or those remembrances. If it isn't in your original purpose to be here for first contact and to be here as a sort of ambassador of contact, then it just won't be relevant for you to experience those things. And I can't stress enough that it's not a matter of better or worse. It's not a matter of my journey is lacking because I don't have these extraterrestrial experiences. As a matter of fact, like, in a lot of ways, it's been really challenging growing up and stuff and having these experiences, because at first I was really freaking paranoid, like really paranoid about these. And it's not a very sort of glorified thing, like, yes, like, we're here as first contact ambassadors. It can be a way to empower yourself, but there's a lot of challenges that come with that role that not too many people, earthly people, can relate to.
Yeah, it's not just like all butterflies, you know. And I think a lot of like the Starseed community, and I even like I'm thinking about this video and I'm like, because there's a lot of like Starseed community where it's just like so airy-fairy and it's like so like honored and like privileged and almost egoic to have these connections. And it's like, yeah, but it's also a great responsibility and it's super intense and it's probably just going to be even more intense, and it's a life path that's pretty amazing. So it's not always the best thing to have all these experiences. in some ways too, if they're not just happening for you naturally. And I've also found that these experiences come in and out. Like we were talking when you were here about how I was having so many experiences, you know, from like 2011 to about 2014, 15. And then this past year, they just like dried up. I mean, where I was having them every few weeks, like pretty intense experiences. Then it was just like flat and like, did they disappear? Did I go to another dimension? Like what happened? And it's like, no, it's not relevant. Like you were saying, it's just not relevant. It's not up right now because the thing I need to be doing is grounding in this world on Earth in this mothership.
Absolutely. It's always going to come down to a matter of relevancy. And I think that when you become integrated in that understanding, you see how you're not in control of anything. You see that whether the one that has contact experiences or the one that doesn't have the contact experiences, whatever side you're on of that spectrum, it's not up to you to dictate your experiences. It is only up to you to choose how you wish to relate to those experiences and ground them into the physical dimension in order to make this world a more empowered and more blissful and loving place.
It's true. And speaking of grounding them into the physical, we were talking about how to, if you have these experiences, say like on the ship, with particular people, specific people that you know in your daily life or you know of, do you tell them? And like, how does that work? You know, like how do you, because you don't want to impose this idea on other people, but you also want to ground it. So what's your approach to that?
I'm going to take a very specific approach with this because it's sort of, it works on a lot of different levels. And you're totally right. We don't want to impose anything on anyone because that is certainly not the most heart-centered path to approach life. But if you have experiences with people on ships, beneficial to the individual that's having those experiences to reach out to these other people that you're having these experiences with. And of course, not everyone that you meet on the ships is going to be someone that you know, but a lot of times it's people that you're sort of connected with. Maybe it's around your community or it's on Facebook, and just reach out and talk to them about that and engage in conversation. And I'm always an advocate of co-creating with as many people as I possibly can. So introducing that avenue of co-creation, asking someone, like in this situation, you know, me and Bridget are really good friends, and we were just like, hey, like we need to do this video together. We need to co-create more. And so doing things like that is incredibly important. And I'll tell you why it's important. And it's kind of important in a sort of funny way. When you reach out to someone and you take a leap of faith and courage to reaching out to someone, you're stepping more into a higher degree of empowerment. And hilariously enough, as you gain more confidence, as you perpetuate more momentum towards these greater manifestations of yourself, you actually raise your vibration. And by raising your vibration, you're able to translate or bridge the vibrational gap between what happens on the ship and what happens in the physical. So use reaching out to someone else as a permission slip to empower yourself and to raise your vibration so that you can start to be able to translate and remember the experiences that you have with ETs and the experiences that you have with other starseeds on the ship. Because co-creation right now is the most essential thing. We can't create this new paradigm without co-creating with one another. And I think that, and Bridget, you probably have experienced this and can relate to this, I think there's a lot of like stigma and stuff in the Starseed community of like, you know, it's one thing not being able to communicate and co-create with everyone, but sometimes it can be like, I don't have time for this. You know, I don't have time to talk to these other people because I'm so busy at doing whatever I'm doing in my life. And though that's fine, there's always a deeper invitation to co-create. And you know, you might find connecting with someone that you wouldn't normally connect with and co-creating something that wouldn't normally be created if you just stayed within your initial circle of friends. So it's always about reaching out to as many people as you can and spreading a wider net with whatever it is you're excited to create. Because that's really what's up. I mean, in my opinion, that's really what's up. And I'll say anyone that wants to co-create with me, I'm always open to doing that. And I'm always open to allowing that.
I love that. You're the sweetest. Yeah, it's really true. And diversifying like our connections, because there's like the ET community, there's a spiritual community, there's like, and then there's the people that aren't that, and it's like, no, we're all like one community, and so as much diversification,
we're all that. We're all one community.
Yeah, is possible is going to be good. And I agree with you. I think reaching out to the people that you connect with in these ship experiences is really important, because it's a reflection for them. Like, they might need a little bit of a nudge of awakening, not that you're trying to impose it, but you're just sharing an experience. You're like, hey, this is what happened to me. And so many people have done that with me before I was even really public about it. And I was like, whoa, it was just enforcing synchronicity in my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like 4 people had the same dream experience with me, like in Shasta, within the same week. And I'm like, okay, that's significant. So it helps with like synchronicity and instilling these things like into the physical, not just leaving them up there. And there's a difference between like the ship experience, like an experience, and then just a dream, because oftentimes we can have just dreams with people, and it might not be like actually them. It could just be they're a symbol in the dream of something that's projected or reflecting to you. So how do you distinguish between an actual experience and an actual person in experience versus like just someone that's playing a role in your dream?
It's a wonderful question. And I think that the funny thing about that is whether or not that person is truly in your dream, like you truly meet up with them in that template level reality, or it's a projection of your own consciousness. The important thing is that that person is coming up. And when I say this, if you feel a resonance to reaching out to them, so whether it's actually them or whether it's a projection of your consciousness, the important thing is that person is being highlighted within your consciousness, perhaps because there's something to gain from that, perhaps because there is something to co-create, or perhaps an opportunity for you to reach out to someone that you wouldn't normally reach out to, just to be able to empower yourself that much more and be able to, as I said before, cast a wider net of people that you know. But I'll say it is important to distinguish, I guess, what we can call dreams and actual contact experiences. And I'll say from my experience with meeting so many extraterrestrials, a contact experience will, most of the time, you will immediately become lucid the moment that you get into contact with a 4th and above density being, because there's something that sparks that consciousness within the experience. A lot of times your body will go into paralysis or shock because the level of vibration is not translating into your particular nervous system. So sleep paralysis, feeling like there's so much, basically feeling like there's so much love that your nervous system is overloading, is generally, and I'll go as far as saying almost 100% of the time, you're having an experience with an extra-dimensional, an extraterrestrial being, and that's real. And so these kinds of experiences where you're feeling the vibrancy within your own nervous system is indication that you're not only having contact, but the chances are that the people who you may recognize within that experience are actually making an appearance in the same time, space, location, which happens to be on a ship.
Yeah, that's a great way of distinguishing it. It's like the vibrancy and like your body, it's like your astral body, like when you're in it, but then also when you wake up, if you have that feeling of paralysis, or you have that feeling of just like knowingness, or that feeling of like, what the hell just happened? Like one of those that's just like slams you with reality. It feels so real, you know?
Yeah, it's, if you feel like God just slapped you in the face with divine love and bliss, the chances are you are having contact. And if you're waking up in a sweat and you feel things, I wake up sometimes, there's different pressure points or not sort of, I have the sensation of pressure in different parts of my body. You are being contacted. You are being, generally a lot of the times they're coming to either take genetic material to further the hybridization program. They're checking up on you to make sure that all your different bodies, your energetic body, your physical body, even your nervous system is being properly attuned to the new vibrations that are coming in. And they're infusing your genetics with upgraded genetics. I know that one of the things that started happening to me many years ago when I really started to have the remembrances like really hardcore, like you were saying around like 2011 and stuff, is I just started looking completely different because my genetics were being, my extraterrestrial genetics and my higher dimensional DNA and RNA codes, if you can call them that, were being fired off. And immediately your physical appearance starts to shift. So, and we'll take that as another note. If your physical appearance is starting to shift, the chances are you are being contacted by your crew members. And so that's another important thing to understand.
I love that. And I mean, these realms are like, there are whole worlds to be able to refine and navigate.
Oh, yeah.
Just like psychedelic realms, like the astral realm, the dream realm, the contact realm. So I'm even gonna, as we're talking about this, I'm like, I gotta have a Luna. We gotta do an interview with a Luna, one of our mutual friends on lucid dreaming.
Yeah, definitely.
Astral, because it's not just like as simple as just like 1, 2, 3. Some things are super obvious, and then there's all this stuff in between. So really cleaning that out and like being precise about cultivating this understanding of where we're navigating and what's actually happening is really critical as we merge these dimensions together into now.
It's completely critical, and I'm really glad that you brought that up because I was sort of receiving the same thing as you were saying that. It's important to be rooted in the fact that these experiences are white. So they're not so black and white because quite literally in the later half of 4th density into 5th, into 6th, into these other densities of consciousness, we're entering into a quantum reality. We're entering into a whole different set of parameters for space-time. So it's like on the ship, you walk through the door and you're simultaneously walking through the wall and the ceiling at the same time, just to give you sort of an example or metaphor for the multidimensionality of these experiences. So to be rooted and anchored in the clarity of, once again, making contact with yourself, because making contact with yourself, getting in tune with yourself, as I say, landing, the ship lands within your own heart. You know, as these things occur, you're much more adequate at actually navigating these higher dimensions and densities. And actually, funny enough, something that starts to come back, which I noticed, is your ability to navigate on the ship starts to translate into this dimension in the sense that you start to be able to feel yourself more in these quantum realities and everything existing all simultaneously.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's true. And like even the particular abilities that you have, like you can then translate here. So if you're like really good at like navigation or something, it'll be translated into like this realm and you'll get even better at it. And that's the same with other lives too. It's like the more we bring in, say like our Atlantean technological lives or like these different lives, all the wisdom just comes back into this realm. And that's one of the reasons why it's relevant, is because we've spent whole lives mastering this stuff. If they aren't having these experiences, if they have no clue what that feeling is, but at the same time, they want it and there's something in it, not in a seeking way, but just like, what would be your top tip to just cultivate that or like have that happen? I mean, we've talked about it being really just like surrender and relevance and timing of the higher self, but is there anything any practice that they can start using or that has been good for you to let those experiences really come to life?
The practice, which should always be the practice, whether you're wanting to have, or you're having contact, whether you want to manifest this and that, because as I said before, all of these things ultimately and truthfully are out of our control. As much as we want to insist on the fact that we can make it happen, the fact is that it's all divinely orchestrated. It's all in divine timing. So the way that we merge these two realities between the temporal self and the higher self is through the path of honesty. When we're truly honest with our experience, whatever is arising within this moment, and we have compassion to whatever is arising in this moment, and being honest with what we truly desire and what we know is best for us. Because when we know what is best for us, we can start to physicalize that in this dimension, which hilariously enough automatically reveals all of the things that we need to know in that moment and all of the experiences that we need to have in that moment. And when we're honest with ourselves, this not only ends the path of feeling ungrounded, but it also ends the path of the endless chasing and the endless craving of one experience to the next, one experience to the next, one ET to the next. We are the ET that we've been waiting for. That's it.
Really true. It's really
Be honest.
true. And there's something when you were saying like one experience to the next, the thing that came up for me is like in this culture, it's like, you know, one notification to the next movie, to the next Snapchat, to the, you know, and it's like, you know, and so our brains are like programmed to have these like immediate sensations, immediate experiences. And that is like you can't, that it's not, these contact experiences aren't just something to just like, oh, that's great, I got like a hit of, you know, endorphins. You know, it's like, it's so much deeper than that, even though it can arise in that same speed, you know?
I just want to touch on that because this something came through for me as you were saying that, and I thought that was quite funny. There's truth in the sort of never-ending pursuit of experiences, in the sense that as we raise our vibration and we move further into fourth density and these more quasi-physical dimensions, the way in which we're experiencing life is way more rapid fire, way more quick, way more accelerated. It is one after the next. The difference is that the endless experiencing of experience, when you're truly rooted in love and truly rooted in honesty, does not come with the endless dissatisfaction.
It's the difference between being a creator, you know, and then just being an observer of life, like a participant of life. It's like, are you going to actually
totally.
You know, are you going to drive the ship, or are you going to just like sit back and like let everything else like take over?
Oh, totally. And I'll say there is people here to participate, and then there's those people that are here to blaze a trail and to be pioneers and to drive that ship. And those that are watching this video, you are here to drive that ship. You're not here to sit around and let life pass you by. You're here to really anchor that in. And that doesn't always mean physically doing everything and running around and exhausting yourself. But what that truly means is being as loving, as compassionate, as honest with yourself every moment of every day until you explode and your own divinity is revealed.
This is an infinite conversation. This is like, it just goes forever.
It just goes on and on.
It goes on and on. And we'll have more of these. And Gabe's making awesome videos. Will you tell them about the links so that they can connect with you and see more?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think it would be, you know, in the description of this video. But just to let you know, I make YouTube videos under my name, Gabriel Salomon. I also am the co-founder of I guess you could say a small organization called Musical Coordination. And what we do is we teach interactive music workshops. So we basically get everyone together and we spontaneously co-create and access higher levels of our creativity through a musical context. And so that, if you want to check that out, it's just www.musicalcoordination.com. And that's coordination like musical chords, so CHORD. And we also have a facebook.com/musical coordination. We have a lot of events. I live on the East Coast, so we're always doing events here and stuff that you can check out. And so connect with me and let's co-create. Like I said, I'm really always down to co-create with whomever and whenever. And of course, it has to be in the flow and it has to be resonant. But I'm always very much open to doing that.
Yay! And I know that there's a lot of East Coasters that watch this channel and feel like very alone, but there's like there's a lot of you over there. So go connect with
There is a lot of us.
The Beacon Hub for all of you over there. And so thank you so much.
Yeah, as always, like, it's just, I love hanging out with you. I love talking with you, and it's always such a pleasure to be able to share this message with everyone that may be watching. You know, it's just amazing. We live in super, super crucial, amazing, beautiful, transformative times, and it's never to be taken for granted. It's only ever there to uplift us and empower us.
And
so.
If you like the kind of interview topic type dynamics on this channel, comment below and let me know if you like it, because it's fun. I like talking to other people. I don't just like talking to myself in the camera. So I like having it be interactive with that. And if there's anyone that you would like to see me interview or converse with, it doesn't matter to me if they have a huge following or no following, because every person is equally significant if it's an interesting and valuable conversation. So just please let me know what would be of interest to you. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe below. And I'll see you next Tuesday with a new video. So I'll see you then. Thanks, Gabe.
Yay. Bye. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.